And Michael Bociurkiw joins me now, a well-known face on the show. He is a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council and the former spokesperson for the Organization for Security and Operation in Europe. Good morning to you, Michael. Thanks for being here with me. Let's start let me pick it up exactly what we heard from the US side now. Three US two sergeants, really two leaders, and also earlier this week on Sunday we heard as well from the visitors here in Ukraine. Give me a sense of what you made of what you hear, because to me it's the clearest position we have heard so far from the US on this war.
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, the U.S. has made it clear that there's almost no limit to the amount of weaponry it's going to be giving to Ukraine. A lot of it is a lot more sophisticated. And the other thing we're learning right now is very, very valuable intelligence has been shared with the Ukrainians as well, allowing them the ability to move their missile batteries so they're not targeted by the Russians. But the big fear I have, on the one hand, this is very good that the West is finally developing the spine, I think, to really give Ukraine the ability to push the Russians back. But the Russians are striking back, targeting key supply lines, that railway line, as well as trying to cut Ukraine off from its water access to the Black Sea. So it seems like the Russians are acting in a much more surgical, strategic way.
Why do you think that the Russians have changed tactics somewhat here? We have heard in the last hour or so from the Ukraine side that they're losing towns in the east, so that acknowledgement that that's happening.
Yeah, I think the Russians have realized they've had terrible losses, tanks and personnel on the battlefield, so they're using more of these long-range missiles to target places, even around here in Lviv, for instance. So I've argued, including on CNN Opinion, that until the West gives Ukraine that really great ability, advanced ability to close its skies to these types of missiles, then things will make a big turn in favor for the Ukrainians.
And I'm guessing the terrain that we're seeing in this new push in the offensive is very different from what we've been seeing elsewhere.
Absolutely. A lot of your viewers will be familiar with that terrain from when MH17 came down in July of 2014. So very bucolic fields and lots of open areas, very different from areas, for example, north of Kiev, where you have swamp and forest and that type of thing. And then, of course, don't forget, the Russian-backed rebels have been occupying a third of that part of Ukraine since 2014. They have a lot of advanced weaponry, GPS blocking ability, that sort of thing.
On the US front, though, what we've heard from US diplomats, we want Russia to be weakened. Very strong words indeed. Does this make it more of a proxy war here?
No question. And it puts Ukraine in a very difficult position because, of course, Ukraine will do its best to defend itself. But going against, I think the West is now not talking much about peace talks anymore, but trying to encourage Ukraine to not only push the Russians out, but to destroy their armed forces as much as possible. But I'm hearing directly from sources on the front line that the new call-ups that are arriving on the front line, not very well prepared, not very well kitted out. And it takes, I heard on Ukrainian television yesterday, it takes about a week to train someone to use, arms properly. That's if you even have instructors available. So there are a lot of those kind of little logistics that could end up increasing losses on the Ukrainian side, unfortunately.
Very briefly, because we're running out of time, how worried are you about Odessa?
Very worried. I think, it's, of course, very strategically important that the Russians have shown the past few days they have the ability to target it at their will from long-range bases in Russia.
Michael, always great to have you on the show. Thank you very much.